Let's talk for a moment about AirOS 8.0, version 8.0, the infrastructure mode. As you can see for IPv6, we can have an IPv6, IPv4 client, IPv6 client using 802.11. That doesn't change. We can even have them dual stack. So running at the same time, this client could have IPv4 connectivity and IPv6 connectivity. So dual stacked. We also have the entire feature set here for CapWAP version 6 in 8.0. So we have a new CapWAP tunnel that takes place. Right here, CapWAP tunnel version 6 supports IPv6 addressing. Great. This infrastructure mode is absolutely the same as it was for IPv4, but now we support almost all IPv6 addresses. I'll show you one thing that's not supported in a moment, but almost everything is supported. Almost everything. You can see here we have IPv4, IPv6, VLANs, and Ethernet. We have IPv4 and 6 routers, IPv4 and 6 and IPv6 NTP server, IPv6 radius server. This would be your ICE server in most cases. IPv6 SNMP server, syslog, TFP, FTP, SCP servers, all IPv6. So this is all supported in our infrastructure mode now. Remember, 7.2 and 7, not the case. 8.0, yes. And we'll talk more about that right now. So first off, notice that we have our management interface here. We have the ability to have a statically assigned IPv6 primary address, and our link local address of the next hop will go in our primary IPv6 gateway. How do I know a link local address when I see one? FE80, FADY. When I see a FADY address, I know that's link local. So our primary IPv6 gateway is the link local address of our next hop. How do we get out? That's it. You can see here it says plus link local address. Don't forget that. What kind of access do we have for IPv6? Well, we have the same thing that we had before. We have telnet access. We have SSH access. We have HTTP access. We have HTTPS access. All through our management address. You can see here, here's our IPv6 address right there. So we have the ability to be accessed wired and wirelessly via IPv4 or IPv6 now. Infrastructure mode AirOS 8.0 plus and higher. They've added in all this support. So be aware, we have all that. We have the ability, telnet, SSH, HTTP, HTTPS. So when we look at our dynamic interface, one of the things we have to realize is this is where we don't see an IPv6 address for our dynamic interface. We actually have to configure an IPv4 address because that's all that's supported. It's the only thing that's supported. But on our router switch configuration, this is going to look a little different. Okay, so let's look at our router switch configuration here. First off, we have our router, IPv6 DHCP pool, VLAN 20 pool, address prefix. That's what we're going to set up. And then our DNS server and our domain name. On the switch side of things, we're going to have interface VLAN 20. We're going to have the IP address. Notice the IP address and the subnet for that IP address matches what we're looking at here. Matches, right? We're going to say IP NAT inside. Then we're going to do an IP virtual reassembly for that dynamic interface. We're going to put in the IPv6 address on top of that. Then IPv6 enable, IPv6 neighbor discovery prefix, IPv6 neighbor discovery manage config flag, our other config flag, and then last but not least, we're going to tie this into IPv6 DHCP server, or DHCP server at the top, VLAN 20 pool, remember those match, rapid commit. So that's how we tie all this in together with this dynamic interface. Even though it's IPv4 support only, like I showed you, you can do the configuration on our router and switches to make that work on the physical, excuse me, not the physical side of things, on the other side, the wired side of things. Okay. What about our service ports? Well, again, we have IPv6 connectivity available here. We use our service port to statically assign address or select an address via Slack. So our primary address, you can see here, we have our Slack enable here, and our prefix length here. Prefix length will probably always be 64, unless you're doing something crazy. And then here you can see we have to enable Slack. And then if we enable Slack, we don't have to put in our primary address, our prefix length, or anything like that. Because why? Because Slack is going to take care of it. Stateless autoconfig. It's going to do it itself. We don't have to worry about it from there. We're going to receive a router advertisement. After we receive the router advertisement as a client ourselves, we're a wireless LAN controller, but we're a client, we are going to generate our own IP address.